You've tuned in to When Your Mind Becomes the Scene of the Crime podcast. I'm Dr. Linda F. Williams. I take survivors of abuse and trauma from pain to purpose so that you take back your power, tap into the truth of who you are, and live your best life now. I was talking to someone the other day who had a very traumatized childhood. And they were traumatized to the point where certain geographical areas they couldn't go to without just their stomach turning and having a strong physical reaction. As a result of their trauma, they would shrink back, they would put other people ahead of themselves, and they would put on a face for people, we call it kind of like a please me type of dynamic where their needs would always take a back seat to others' needs, whether that was emotional, physical, or whatever. And they would show different faces to different people. They've come to a point now where they've healed enough that, no, I'm not doing that anymore. They've come to the point where I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm not going to just do things to please other people. I'm going to take control of my life, and I'm going to quit being all those different people to all those different others and let who I am shine through. And whoever likes it, likes it. And whoever doesn't like it, oh well. And as they were thinking on this, this is what happens when people have a please me, what I call a please me driver. It often is accompanied by a false sense of responsibility for the outcome of other people. Where people need to own their own negative outcomes, and you might see where their problem is, and you jump in to help them whether they want that help or not. You don't want to tell somebody that you don't want to do something, but you do it anyway because you think that they're not going to like you if you don't. What often is the backlash is there's bitterness behind it. You build up a bitterness against other people, a bitterness against that relationship, a bitterness period because you've done things and given of yourself, and often that stuff is not reciprocated by those people. And sometimes it's not appreciated by those people. And then you get your ire up, and then you're angry, and you got that undercurrent of anger, and then you go right back into that same cycle where it's all about everybody else and not about you. Well, the epiphany that this person had was, it's not everybody else's fault that's how I decided to present myself. It's not everybody's fault that's how they knew me. This person I put on, that's the person they got to know. It's not their fault. All they're doing is reacting and relating based on the you that you've chosen to present to any given individual. Yet we're bitter about those kinds of things. It's not other people's fault that we decide that our best defense mechanism is to please everybody else. It's not their fault. And as I was thinking about this, was a real epiphany for this person, because this person just woke up and said, why am I angry at everybody else when it's my fault? And I thought about this analogy. One of the Star Trek series has this thing called the Holodeck. Now, I don't know if the Holodeck started with the original Star Trek or the next generation or any iteration thereafter, but there's this thing called Holodeck. When you think about it, everybody's on this ship for months or years, and everybody's entitled to a vacation. And the place where you live is the place where you work. So where do you go on vacation? So they've got this thing called a holodeck where you can program what kind of vacation you want. Paradise, New York City, whatever vacation you want, you can program the holodeck. And for whatever period of time you go on the holodeck, and that's all you see, that's your reality. The reality that you created and concocted for your pleasure was all in your control to develop and design. It's the same theory. What this person was saying is that they created this holodeck experience in the lives of other people that they knew. And once those people stepped on this person's holodeck, that person was drawn into the originator's reality. So in other words, it's not their fault that I created this holodeck experience and brought them into it. The only person they know is the person that this person presented over all of those years to them. That's all they know. How are they going to know the real you? Just saying. How are they going to know the real you if you don't know the real you and enough to even present that side of yourself to them? Sit on that for a minute. So once you create this so-called holodeck experience where you have designed the reality that you're living in that person's presence, it's not their fault that they don't know who you truly are, because you never stood on that truth long enough for them to see that. And your fear of them seeing the you chose to run from, the you didn't truly know, okay? Your decision to run from that put everybody in your life at a disadvantage, because now they're the bad guys, they're the boogeyman, because you decided that that was your reality. And they didn't have a choice in that. I'm just presenting this holodeck theory so that you can think about it. When you find yourself getting bitter about doing something or being somewhere, ask yourself, who put this demand on me? Am I the one who's concocting this demand on me? Am I the one who has decided that this is my obligation? Am I the one who has decided that I have to do this to please other people? And then going beyond that to understand why that is, that's a whole new experience. But let's just start with asking ourselves truthfully that question. Because once you go there, it's not anybody else's fault that you went there. They only know the you chose to show them. This is why I always tell you, like I'm going to tell you again, your greatest power is realized in the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are. And unless and until you know that truth, you're still stuck. And unless and until you know that truth, you are disempowered. So know that truth. I'm Dr. Linda. Thank you for joining me today on When Your Mind Becomes the Scene of the Crime podcast. Schedule your free breakthrough session now at lindafwilliams.com. That's lindafwilliams.com.